our approach to that work at North Seattle College was to look at the barriers that we know exist, but also investigate the barriers that are keeping people from actually even interacting with the college in the first place. So we took a multi-pronged approach, really thinking about barrier classes like math and English, thinking about things like language access to higher education pathways, but also doing some focus groups with folks who haven't made it into higher education and trying to figure out why that is and if there's anything that we can do to make our programs more centered around the students that maybe would like to go to college but haven't found a program that works for them. We had a student advisory board where providers came to us and said, this college is not accessible, and I've got colleagues that need to take these courses but don't have access to them. It's worth noting that Washington State passed legislation where by 2026, providers have to have a minimum education requirement that's 20 credits, and that's quite a bit higher than what it was in the past. And as of last November, 14,000 providers in the state of Washington do not meet this requirement, nor have they indicated a plan to meet this requirement. So there is a big gap between providers who are doing wonderful work and want to keep doing their job and their ability to do that job because they don't have clear pathways to meet those education requirements. So when we were aware that one of the big barriers was language, we started looking within these communities to identify what would make that possible, like what we could do to build a pathway, what that pathway could look like. So we invited community partners and found some wonderful folks that we brought on staff to really build out these programs. And we started with one cohort in Spanish, and the goal was to get that 20 credit certificate. And once students identified as successful college students, they wanted to keep going. So that meant we needed more resources. And the college is not set up to provide the level of support students need to navigate all of these barriers that are part of this institution. So it meant grant funding. And when this grant came around, we recognized that there was so much potential to build pathways, not just for the Spanish students, but we had interest in all those other languages, Mandarin, Arabic, Oromo, Somali, providers that had heard that we were starting this and were really wanting to get on board because there were needs in all of these communities that weren't being met anywhere.
We have peers and advisors that speak Arabic, Somali, Spanish, and Mandarin, and they're able to support the students in navigating the college system and understanding what their course content, their expectation, and then also working with the instructors. So it gave more support, especially for our language students, to be able to access information in their home language.
And we heard time and time again how folks were able to achieve something that they didn't think was possible, which was earning a degree in the United States. And they are able to identify themselves as highly capable, successful college students with degrees. They've graduated, and now they are taking on supporting their communities and their children and their families and showing them it's possible and encouraging them all to do things that they didn't think they could do before.
I had a law degree from back home, but I couldn't proceed, with my to practice law in United States of America. When I heard about Arabic cohort, that word itself encouraged me and built my self-esteem. Like, okay, I can do this. I can be more engaged in the classroom. I can produce more. And for North Seattle, I felt like they provide us with high-quality teachers, high-quality education system resources. The cohort itself, the classes itself in Arabic, it's really empowering. Like, we can do this because in my own language, it's easy for me to navigate. I would say more comfortable, more confident, and the teachers will work their ways to break down any aspects, like any lessons, to make sure that everybody understand, It's not like I'm gonna give you the slide and figure it out. Not at all. It's not like that. It's based on discussion, based on critical thinking.
So we were really excited to see innovation in this grant, and we sat down with some of our partners, Child Care Aware of Washington, the Department of Children, Youth, and Families, the State Board of Community and Technical Colleges, and really thought about what would we do if there were no limits? Like this is innovation. This isn't replicating things that we know work. This is starting from scratch and building something brand new. And I remember the very meeting when we came up with the Nora C. Daniel Fellowship and this idea that to diversify the higher education workforce, we want to support our own alumni, and we want to not just pay them scholarships to pay their tuition, but we want to pay living expenses.
The idea, it was about affording opportunities to not settle only for your 2-year degree, to go on to your 4-year degree, and to also be able to, once you get your bachelor's, to move on to get your master's, because that's, doors open up. But when you start having the master's, you can come teach at the community college. And that's where we want for people to be.
Oftentimes you have grants that ask for already demonstrated things that you want to expand or replicate, or they have very strict constraints on what you can spend the money on. And this grant was really just tell us what you want to do and how much money you need to do it, and we'll see if that works. And they were very supportive of our ability to really try some of these things. And it turns out that they work. We've pivoted away from a couple of things that we had started, but there's been flexibility to do that. So we were able to take that money and reallocate it in the areas that really are working, and expand the reach of some of those programs while dialing back some of the other things that were less successful. And that has meant that we have been making systems changes at every step of the way. So in our institution, across the state board, really working with our Department of Children, Youth, and Families, to do things that, instead of thinking about how do we work within the system, how do we change the system to better serve the providers that haven't really been represented before. It was really liberating for us to be able to think so freely about what early child education could look like and what teacher preparation could look like, and to support us along the way, not just with funding, but with a lot of technical assistance that helped us navigate things. They connected us to other colleges that we learned so much from and built really wonderful relationships. So I want to just express gratitude for the experience, for the trust, for the support in the process, because we've really seen a huge impact. And the momentum that we have right now, I'm just really excited to see where we're going to take it next.
There's a need for quality early childhood education. We're seeing high turnover rates, but we have people in the community who want to be able to do this work. We just need to give them access.